6 months ago, I started the biggest project of my entire life, and it really brought a new light to my eyes of how schools can't teach you everything you need to learn. A black and white drawer-sized canvas became a representation of me and my passion. The red house at the end of the road, although painted towards the end of the project, sums up everything that's important about this entire piece in 1 square inch of canvas. In art, the color red is typically representative of passion, and art is my passion. From a hobby at a young age to a passion and a future I hope to pursue, I have immersed myself in the arts, and the arts have become me. The reason for choosing a photo with a bridge on it is because every time a new name or word is carved into any bridge, anywhere in the world, it leaves behind the memory of a moment. This directly relates to how I did my bridge, because in my bridge, I have feelings that represent these moments. I have these feelings represented through colors. Yellow represents happiness, blue, calmness and sadness, red, passion and love, purple, for royalty, as I prefer to think of it being on top of the world, and gold for perfection. And then there's the topic next to it, passion and feelings. Now I'm sure you've heard before that these two connect, but I want to talk about one specific feeling in particular, stress. I'm a student. I go to school 7 hours a day. I come home, I do 2 hours of homework, and then I do all my extracurricular activities. And most of the time, it seems that time does not give me enough time. I never have enough time to do what I want to. But I learned that if I go downstairs and I do art for maybe 5 minutes a day, this stress turns into a sense of calmness, and I can immediately pursue what I originally wanted to do. The next part of my painting was the sky. The sky I originally did with watercolor, and then I would take paper towels and streak it to give it the illusion of sky, clouds. And then I did the trees. The trees were just black silhouettes, but I took green oil pastel and colored pencil and colored around the silhouettes to make them seem green. Unfortunately, one day I was coloring them, and I rubbed my hand across the canvas. This led to the sky being green, which faced me with the biggest problem I would have during this entire project. I took linseed oil and paraffin oil, which are an oil thinner and an oil cleaner, and I rubbed them on, and I thought it was okay. But then last week, I decided I hated the way it looked. So I had to take acrylic paint, which is a much thicker paint, and apply it in short strokes so that I would cover up my earlier mistakes. This is problem solving. It was hard because I couldn't ask someone what to do. While I do give my family incredible credit for being creative, none of them came. So I didn't have someone I could turn to ask for the answer. So I had to figure out myself. The next part of my painting, and the one that brought me the closest to being done, was the cornstalk. The cornstalk I did by taking the pages out of old books and cutting them to the shapes of leaves. I then glued those on and added a sort of burlap print, which I made by ripping threads out of burlap fabric. I then painted this entire thing over with thinned out oil paint. This was innovation. Innovation is hard because it takes a creative mind. And when I say creative mind, don't worry, I don't mean an artsy mind. I mean a mind that's flexible, because you can't force innovation to happen. It has to happen on its own. And so, when I was bored one day, I started tearing threads out of fabric. And I came up with probably one of the most significant pieces of my painting. By just letting it happen, instead of forcing myself into it. And most people know that canvases are eventually stretched. This happens so that the canvas doesn't wrinkle over time and get tarnished. Most artists do this when they started painting. I, however, did it at the end. Wow, it was hard. A lot harder than it looked. After years of using store-bought canvases, I underestimated the art. You had to take these silver flimsy things, bend it back, and then staple it. However, staples don't go into wood as easily as you think they do. So my staples jutted out in a multitude of directions. This was annoying. I mean, I had finally gotten to a point where I felt so good about it that I could stretch it, and then I couldn't stretch it. Because I just didn't have the perseverance to do it. But when I was doing it, I realized that I did have the perseverance because I loved this painting so much that it just had to get done. This diligence and this perseverance, once you apply them in one situation, it becomes natural to apply it in every other situation in your life. And through all of this amazing work, I learned patience. I will not say I'm a very patient person, but I'm just a little bit more patient now. When you have to paint the sky over and over again so that you finally think it looks good, and you have to paint houses over and corn stalks over because the colors are different, you get patient because you have to realize that eventually they'll turn out okay. It may not turn out okay right now, but someday it'll turn out the way you want it to. And so time can prove for me that this self-motivated project taught me so much more about life skills than I have ever learned in school. In school, there's a teacher next to you to ask a question. There's a rubric. You are guided through every step of the process. But in life, you don't have those guiding steps. You have to make it on your own. And so you have to learn to rely on yourself. And this happens through allowing yourself to do something so huge that you may not think you will succeed. But when you start this project and you finish this project, you learn all these life skills. And you can rely on yourself. Because someday that teacher next to you is going to retire. And then you're going to have to find a new way to get through. And if you do these self-motivated projects, you've already found that way. Thank you.